You are listening to the Bravo Creative Podcast, hosted by Tom Baker. Thank you for listening. Your position has been triangulated. Drone army has been dispatched to your location. Commencing attack run in 3, 2, 1.
Hello, and thank you so very much for listening to the Bravo Creative Podcast. I got a great show for you today. Before we get to today's guest, today's episode is sponsored by Trial and Error. If at first you don't succeed, try again. Sometimes I really hate that sponsor, but it's a necessary evil. I want to let my listening audience know that the Bravo Creative Podcast is being pumped out on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Prime Music, and Audible. And it's also linked off of the Bravo Creative website at www.bravocreative.net/Bravo Podcast. I'm probably going to get in trouble for that because I think somebody else has that. I also, real quick, want to thank everyone who has been listening and giving me feedback and all the well wishes. This creative endeavor of mine of putting out this podcast has been fun. It's been hard. It's been chock full of mistakes, but most of all, it's been very inspiring for me. So thank you very, very much. And I want to wish everyone a very happy and prosperous new year. I have a really good feeling that 2021 is going to be a great year. Now to my guest. My guest today has really inspired me over the course of the last year and a half. I met her while working on the award-winning film Pushing Envelopes, and we had a great time, and she was a major part of keeping my frazzled mental state between the ditches. She was an absolute joy to work with. And she has multiple producer, writer, director, sound, and acting credits on multiple web series and films. She does it all and does a great job at it. And obviously all of that was not enough for her, so she is starting up a new series, which we're going to be talking about today. And and she is also a very, very awesome artist. And you should see some of her sketches that she has out there. They are amazing. And it's been a minute since last we talked, so I've been really looking forward to chat with her. And I want to welcome to the microphone Brittney Greer.
Well, hello.
How are you doing?
Good. You said so many nice things.
Oh, well.
That was great.
I kind of have to.
Way to start out 2021. I'm feeling really good. Just start doing this every weekend.
Let's do really it. Yeah, it gives you that kind of that positive feel. Like,
just like go out into the world. It's
I
like
can do it.
Yeah, it's Silent Hill outside with all the fog and frost, but
man, it's pretty out there though.
it is. It looks so nice. Like all the trees along the highway have the ice.
Yeah.
Like on one side, and then one side it's like pretty green. Because, I guess where the sun is hit.
Right.
I don't know science. I'm assuming it's where the sun is hit.
Well, and didn't a lot of it melt last night? And I guess it came back down last night.
It came back again.
So
winter.
A little bit of a confession. My wife and I just sold our house.
I saw that. Congrats.
And we sold it in record time. We put it on the market on Monday after Christmas. And it was sold by 5 o'clock that night.
Jeez.
For full asking price.
Did they give you champagne or candies for selling
crazy.
so fast?
We found this house that we really, really liked. We'd been looking for a little while. We found this house we really, really liked, and it was way out of the idea that we were even going to get our house put on the market, get it cleaned up and staged and all that stuff in time. But we'd been looking for some property. We wanted a house on some acreage. And so there was this wild, crazy idea. We were like, let's try it.
Just see what happens. It's 2020, about to be 2021.
Yeah. That's where trial and error, that's where trial and error comes in. And so we put it on the market. We got that. We put a contract on the other house. It accepted. They accepted. And so middle of next month, we're moving.
Nice. Are you super excited though?
We really are. It is absolutely beautiful out there. It's we snuck out there yesterday. We drove out And I was like, let's just drive by the house because we were all like giddy and everything. And it's got a little pond down at the bottom with a spring and all kinds of stuff. It's beautiful. And there was all the ice in the trees, and we're trading it in for a subdivision. And I was like,
That's nice.
this is nice, huh?
Are you going to have like a studio space out there?
I will. I've got a barn now.
Oh, I'm telling you, we could use a barn. If you're like, hey, locations.
I know, and that's
just throwing it out there.
I've got like woods, and I got an old little field and all kinds of stuff out there. And actually, our Sato film that me and Hawk Holman and Curtis Stout and Kirsten and Stephen Denton filmed for Sato this year. My friend lives just down the road from there, so he's my neighbor now.
Is that how you found the house?
No, well, when I saw it, I told my wife, I said, hey, that's right next to my friend's house. And she's like, oh, well, then let's really go for it. Because
that's awesome.
It's always cool to know who your neighbors are, and so that.
Or if you're going to be filming something, you're like, hey, there's going to be some screams. Don't worry about it. Please don't call the cops.
Just disregard that.
Yeah, it's fine. Where if you go
if
to someone
we're doing one
you
of your
don't know,
films, there's probably going to be screams in it, right?
Normally.
Well,
normally.
Talk to us about. So you got a new project that you guys did like a proof of concept for it.
Right.
David Watson was talking about that.
Yeah, he's great.
And I saw the trailer that you all put out for it, and it looks beautiful, but I didn't really catch what it's about. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what this is about?
Yeah, so it's called Happy Halloween. You can't see, I'm wearing a Halloween safety shirt with Michael Myers on it. So it's a script that I've worked on for over 10 years at this point.
10 years?
Yeah, probably close to 12 now.
So you were about, what, 9 when you started
Oh,
that?
geez, no. I'm up there in age.
The first draft was in crayon, right?
Right. It was, I had like my crayon set out, and I was like, oh, crap, I ran out of my black, and then I had to go buy another 24 box just to get another black because I want it to be consistent. No, but if you know me, even if you don't know me, you probably know that I love Halloween. Ever since I was a kid, it's a big thing that we did with my mom. We got dressed up. She made our costumes a lot of times. We got dressed up. We did the decorations. There's something about the colors and the lights and the pumpkins. I love it so much. I love Halloween. I love slasher movies.
Which came first, Halloween or slasher movies?
Ooh, probably Halloween, then a close second, slasher movies. I think my dad showed me Killer Clowns from Outer Space when I was like 5.
Oh my gosh.
And then it just kind of rolled.
I saw that at the movie theaters.
Is it like, okay, you watch it now and there's a lot of funny stuff to it for sure.
Right.
But that scene in the jail cell when he's using the sheriff as a puppet, and the sheriff is like looking at it. Yeah.
That is nasty.
I mean, that stuck with me forever. Like forever. But yeah, so Halloween, then slasher films like shortly after that. And it was one of those things that I was just like, I should really write something that I really care about. Surprise, surprise, it's a Halloween slasher movie.
That's usually what they tell you to do, though, right? Something that you want to watch.
Right, and and that's so, I love horror films. I am not a big ghost, demonic, because I'm religious, so sometimes those make me feel very uncomfortable because I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
Possession, that's scary, but like in a scary real way. But so I've always been a huge fan of like the slasher movies, like Michael Myers, like Jason, all of those guys. I loved slasher movies like the 80s, 90s, when Scream came out, and Scream kind of gave new life to slasher movies.
Kind of reinvented it a little bit.
Yes, yeah, 96. I remember watching it on VHS with my mom, thinking this is the best thing ever because it was the first time that the characters were like, hey, we know what happens to these people because we watch slasher movies. Right. And so it was one of those things that in the 90s, they kind of came back for a little bit, and then they went back to the ghosts and the demons. Right. And so I was just very early college. I was kind of writing stuff out, had a character talking to me kind of in my head. And so I just started writing things out, and then it kept growing.
So it's official. Brittney has voices.
I do. I do. It's kind of scary that I like slasher movies so much and people are talking to me.
Right.
But I put it all on paper if
Yeah.
that helps anybody or makes anybody feel more comfortable.
Right.
But yeah, so I wrote it, and I couldn't even tell you what draft it's on at this point. I was literally just talking to one of our actresses, Aline, who is fabulous. I was literally just talking to her a couple
I love
weeks
that
ago.
shot that is in there where she gets like
Pulled in.
Pulled in.
Oh yeah,
That's
and
a
that's
cool looking shot.
and that's
And the
David,
lighting on that is awesome.
And that's David and Tyler. Like, because we were like, how are we gonna make this work? They're like, we got it. And then Chris, who's our JC, and he's the guy that wears like the skull mask and stuff like that, who's also amazing. He's the one, like, he just got in there with her and just like pulls her through. But the effect is amazing. And David was like, oh, I'm gonna pull back, and when I pull back, it's gonna like do this amazing effect. And I was like, do it, you know.
Yeah,
It's
it
like
looked cool.
I'm like, let's
It
do
looked
it.
really
Like
cool.
whatever you think's gonna make it work and make it pop. And
Now, it is official that Debbie and I have asked to be dead bodies in your film.
dude, come on. I mean, anybody that wants to be a dead body, like, I kind of want to be a dead body in it because fake blood's so much fun. But yeah, so I literally was just talking to her a couple weeks ago because we filmed some stuff because we're
To
going to be
Debbie?
doing. No, sorry,
Oh,
to
to
Aline.
Aileen. Mhm.
Yeah, because we did some, I don't know, like just fun little videos to go along with the Indiegogo we're going to be doing.
Oh no, I saw that one. I saw that one. Yeah.
So we're going to be doing that stuff, and I was talking to her, and I was like, hey, so I was talking to her about her character and then another character, and I was just talking about, well, I think I may actually change something. So literally, you're never done writing. Like, I feel like you're never done because I couldn't even tell you what draft is on, and I'm already thinking about bringing a character back to life because I was like, maybe I shouldn't kill this character.
Or maybe you should, and then you change your mind in the edit.
And
Right.
then and then David
That's
would kill
happened before, yeah.
David would kill me. He's like, you want to change it now? Change it now.
Well, but that's interesting though. I mean, you write a script, right? You write a character, and you get to the day, and especially on an independent film, you get to the day, 2-3 days of filming, 4 days of filming, and maybe that actor just really nails it, and you're like, man, they do a really good job. And every scene they're in, they chew it up, and it's just perfect. And then all of a sudden you go, well, let's add this scene. Or, let's do this, let's do this. I mean, not to toot my own horn, but the film that I just wrapped on in October, I had kind of a bit part in it. I didn't really have a big part. And then by the end of the film,
bigger and
I was
bigger.
like, here, I'm on set for like 6 of the 8 days. And but it was fun because you kind of see the fruit of your labor of going,
Right.
okay, I'm changing people's minds about
Right,
my
and that's why,
performance.
I
I
mean,
think that's what's kind of cool about
Yeah,
it.
in every part, especially with like horror films, someone could die in like 5 minutes, and some actors love that because it's like, if you're gonna die in a horror film, you should be the first or the last. You know what I mean? Because those
Right.
usually, like, the first one's usually the most brutal kill because they want it to be impactful and they want you to be thinking about that. Like,
Right.
wow, this guy is very dangerous because of what we just saw. But it's like you give your all and you make everybody love you, and it's exactly what happened.
Well,
like,
it's
I was
in,
like, I feel
was it
like
Stranger
we shouldn't.
Things that happened in. Wasn't the one guy with the mullet? He was kind of supposed to be the bad guy, in it,
Right? Yeah, but they changed
but he
their
did
mind.
so
yeah,
good.
they
and
changed their
people
mind.
were like, I really like him as a character, and so then he became kind of a hero in season 3
yeah,
or 2 or 3, one of the two.
I think it's 3. I can't keep it straight. I binge them all.
I know,
And it feels
I do
like
too.
one
It feels
giant-
like one
yeah,
long
one giant
15-hour movie is
Yeah,
what it feels
I'm just
like.
like, what episode are you talking about?
Well-
I watched a movie. Like,
I actually binged, speaking of strange things, I binged Strange Happenings last night. So I
Oh,
watched
yeah.
from the beginning to the end of that one.
it's almost like a feature when you do it that
It
way.
is. Yeah, it's I think it came in at about it was about
It's a
it's
close
about
to
an hour.
Yeah, it's like
hour
50,
and 15 minutes or something.
Yeah, roundabout.
If you took the credits off.
Yeah, if you took the credits off,
off.
it'd be a little bit.
So
That was my first time like directing.
now
Like,
is this kind of in the same Are you pushing this out the same way that those were pushed out? Are you using kind of the same template that you used with some of these other series that you did in the past?
Not really. So with Happy Halloween, it's exactly how it sounds. It's a slasher Halloween movie.
So it's a full blown
it's going to be a feature.
Movie.
Yeah,
it's a feature. Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be a feature. We did the proof of concept with David and Shannon and Tyler, which David and Shannon and Tyler are amazing. You know, Shannon, she really, like, I was just like, maybe I could sell this one day. And Shannon was like, no, like, you've worked on this so long. Like, this means so much to you.
And you're talking about Shannon Sharrow, right?
Yes. Oh, gosh. Yeah. I guess there's multiple Shannon. There's only one Shannon to me. But yeah, so, I mean, she actually came in and was like, yo, like, we should do this. Like, we should get the funds. Like, we should shoot a proof of concept. We should do a pitch package. We have to find funds. Like, you need to direct this. Like, this is your thing. So she really gave me kind of like the push and like the courage to be like, yes, like, we can try and get this done. Like, we should get this done. So that's how we started doing the proof of concept, and which a lot of people that don't know what a proof of concept is, it's just a trailer. It's a trailer that you want to show people.
But you're filming it as a trailer.
As a trailer, yeah. So there's stuff, which it's really cool. I've had a lot of people say, when can we watch the movie? And I'm like, when can you give me money to finish it? So we did a good job. Like David and Tyler did an amazing job. It was essentially just them lighting, doing sound, being the DP. Like they did all of that stuff. So, and I made it really hard because a lot of our locations, we didn't have like electricity, but I was like, but I want lights. Like, it's Halloween. I want lights. So I made it very difficult for them.
I remember when they were filming it, I'm trying to remember what we were doing. I was working on something and I was talking to David and he was like, yeah, we're having to figure out how to with no
get
the batteries and all that stuff.
And I feel so bad. But so you see our proof of concept and like people actually think it's finished. So I mean, like, that makes us feel great that people think like, hey, this looks good enough that it's done. So but it is not.
Are all of the actors that are in the trailer, and I know you may not want to answer this, but all the actors that are in the trailer, are they in the actual film?
It's something that we would like to do.
Okay.
But we've had some, like, you know, some people have moved away.
Sure.
And so it's also going to depend on the funding.
Because I remember on Vincent's Vow, when Vincent's Vow, that proof of concept came out, they had different actors playing.
Ducon's in it, right? But he wasn't in the proof of concept.
He wasn't in the proof of concept. Damien Costello was in the proof of concept for that. And then I think Elaine was in it, but I think she played a different character in it. I'm not for
fabulous.
Sure. But I mean, there was, and she does great.
And I mean, and it just kind of depends. It depends on like funding. That's why we're doing an Indiegogo. We are wanting, hopefully, to try and get like an actual backer, like just a single backer. But like
single backer with, what's your budget right now? Do you think?
So the lowest we could do it for, and it would be like not trying to get like another person like in a horror film to try and do like a cameo, and would probably be like $10,000. Like
10,000.
Yeah, that's probably the lowest we could go. And again, it would be paying people very minimal.
Right.
What would be nice is if we could get like 25 to 30. Around here, that's a lot harder to pull off.
So you're thinking that probably 10,000 is primarily like production, like
So we'd probably have to do like something else to try and like finish post.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like it would be 10 for like the actual production itself. Right. Because especially with horror films, such a key part is lighting and setting that mood and that tone. And there's a lot of stuff in this movie because it's Halloween.
Right.
You need all of those crazy lights. Like, you need all those decorations. You need stuff like that to make it really feel.
And here's the thing. If you're listening right now, you got $10,000 in your pocket that's burning a hole in it.
I mean,
and you want to put a smile on some people's faces. Well, then here you go.
Right.
And if you have any doubt, you can go out and look at Brittney's pedigree of projects that she's worked on.
Oh, heck
There's
yeah.
a lot of stuff out there. IMDb, actually, I'm going to pull this up because I had a couple questions about your IMDb.
Uh-oh.
Is it
something crazy?
No, it's well, it's like I said, as I was like, you have what, 8 producer credits. So you've worked on quite a few projects.
I've been very lucky. I really think I've been lucky. Like I've got to work with a lot of really great people, to be honest. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of people that you talk to or you hear stories about. And who knows, maybe people say like horrible things about me. I don't know. But like,
I've
for
never
the
heard
most
anything
part,
horrible about Brittney Greer, though. I'll just say
Sweet.
that.
Good.
You got 8 producer credits. So in Happy Halloween is listed on here as in pre-production.
Mm-hmm. Shout out to Shannon. She got that on.
Yeah, and then
She
you
got it
worked
on there for
also
us.
with Shannon on Nostalgic.
Yes, yeah.
Right?
That was so much fun. I loved, because again, that was something that it meant a whole lot to Shannon, you know what I mean? And
Well, it was kind
so
of
getting to
it
be-
was kind of autobiographical, or I guess in a way it was kind of autobiographical,
yeah.
right?
So getting to be like her asking me to help, like, I don't know, like it felt really good to get to help her with something that meant so much to
Get
her.
it out.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. So that's something that I mean, that's one of the reasons why I like being on film sets is I love getting to help people.
Sure.
Like whether it's like,
And you do a
literally
great job
just,
of it
well,
too,
thank
Brittney.
you. Like, even if it's just, that's what I tell people, like because I've directed, because I've written things, people assume, oh, well, if you're not directing, you don't want to help. I'm like, I'll be a PA. Like, I don't care. Like, it's fun to just help people. You know what I mean? And like try and stay positive.
And I think that was probably, and I guess this is kind of my own little rant, is going back because I hadn't worked on any really projects around here.
Mm-hmm.
I was fairly new. I'd only been here about a year when I filmed Pushing Envelopes. And I didn't really. I've always done stuff on my own. I've always worked on my own commercial projects by myself. I did have a business partner for a little while, for a couple years whenever I was getting it started, and she was a huge help to me.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a confidence level that you get.
You have to trust.
You
Yeah.
have to have confidence, but you also have to give confidence
Mm-hmm.
to people. And it's the same as acting or anything else that you do, I think.
It's a big trust game.
But in order to gain that trust, you're right. You gotta give confidence. People have to look at you and go, I trust this person because they're
Right.
giving me something that I need. And that was something that on Pushing Envelopes, I remember in particular, there was a couple times where, you have a scene in your head or an idea of how you want to do that scene in your head. And I remember multiple times, specifically where I would set the camera up and I would look at it and I'd be like, I don't know. And you go, it looks good. And you're like, thank you. It's not, because
Right.
sometimes you just get kind of bombarded by
Oh, and with that, I mean,
ideas or
right,
thoughts or things like that.
and we shot it so quickly. So you know what I mean? So it's like,
Yeah. You don't
it
have
was
a
like
lot
a
of
couple.
time.
Yeah, I mean, like I know you guys did pickups afterwards, but like I mean, for the most part, it was like a 2-day shoot. We had a lot of actors in, which the actors were fabulous. I always love working with Debbie and Mickey. They're some of my favorite people to work with.
Yeah.
I love working with Mike and Madison and Lily. They were there doing makeup and stuff, and I love working with them. And I had never worked with you before,
Right.
and it was so exciting. Like, because I think something I like so much about it, besides the fact that I'm a social butterfly, is that I like the creative process. And that's one of the reasons why I like directing, is because like you said, like you get a vision in your head and you're like, this is it. This is what I want. And then, like someone like you or David comes along and then it's like, well,
What
like
about
maybe,
this?
Yeah, like maybe try it this way. And it's like a light bulb, like
Yeah.
just clicks in your head and you're like, oh my God, why didn't I
yeah.
think about that? Because you just kind of get in your own way sometimes. So having that, like having people,
you get into like which is good, I think. Sometimes you get into like this over churning where it's like, okay. You just keep cranking on it.
Yep. And there's like the time factor and you're like, well, here's a shot list. And,
right.
And you know what I mean? And like you have actors in there waiting. And so it's just, there's a lot. Like I think there's way more to it than people will ever realize.
And that's one of the biggest things that I've tried to emphasize on this podcast. And it's the thing that I've learned, and it's the thing that I'm still working on, is the fact that none of this really truly gets done by ourselves. You got to rely on people.
It's a team. I mean, it is. And I have trust issues.
I do too.
So you think that I would not do well at all. Because I do. I have trust issues, but that's something I think that kind of helps me learn a little bit, because you know what I mean? Like I'll be like, oh, it's okay. Like, well, I can get that prop. Don't worry. Like I can find it. And I have to remember to tell myself, hey, it's okay. Like if this person says they have the prop, let them bring the prop. It's like if this person's like, hey, I've got a location. It's like you have to take a deep breath and let it out and be like, okay,
and see,
I'm going to let you lock that location.
I don't necessarily have that voice. My voice is this, as it goes, okay, let them get it. But if they don't get it, I'm going to scream at them.
I will lose my mind.
I am going to lose my mind very quickly.
Well, and usually I'll like have backup plans. You know what I mean? I'll try to have a backup plan, but again, that's just early on. I was in a production company. I had a business partner with Jason Brazier, who is also fabulous. Love working with him. And that's something that it was like we always had to have a backup plan, because you know, people in this area, sometimes people get very nervous about having quote unquote film crews coming in. You know what I mean?
Sure.
To where some people have had
foreign to them.
Yeah, some people have had bad experiences. Some people just have had no experiences. So it's one of those things that like I'm used to having backup plans, but like I try very hard. Like when somebody's like, because my big issue is somebody says, hey, I want to help. And then I apologize for them wanting to help. I'm like, I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry.
I feel bad for David, because I'm like, hey, like, sorry about that. Could we? And he's like, what are you doing? Like I said, I wanted to help. And I'm like, I know, but it's like, I know you have a life. Like, I know you have stuff going on. And that's like with everybody that like's on the cast or crew. Like when I ask them to do something, I feel bad, because I'm like, well, like I know you have other things going on.
I think it's a good instinct to feel bad.
Right.
But to take it much further than that, unfortunately, the geography of this area prohibits us from feeling too bad all the time. Because we're like, well, sorry, this is kind of what we got.
Yeah, I'm just like, I wish I could pay you $1 million, but I don't have that.
So you got 8 producer credits. You got Barker Hole, which I started watching that. That was a little dark.
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
That's Michael Brazier, Jason's brother,
okay,
wrote that. And then we helped co-write some like episodes like farther down the line.
And all of these, let's see, I don't know where Nostalgic is. I think it's on Vimeo. Is that right?
I think so.
I think it's on Vimeo.
I have to look.
Barker Hole is on YouTube. Mm-hmm. Strange Happenings is on YouTube.
It is. Which that's, like I said, that was like my first time like directing.
Yeah. But those are, I mean, they were really good. I enjoyed it.
I have season 2. Like season 2's been written for, gosh, like a year and a half. Like, and there's like werewolves. Like I love vampires and werewolves.
I want to play someone that fights Mickey Stone's warlock character.
Oh, and he's back. Yeah, like I mean, he's back in it. If we can get the funds, man, like I'll have you be one of our werewolves, and we'll have like a throwdown.
So we got Stage Fright, which I haven't seen that one.
That's actually premiering on Tromo now.
Tromo now?
Yeah, like January 1st, like Lloyd Kaufman.
Oh, wow.
The Toxic Avenger.
Yeah.
So they have like a little streaming service. And
cool.
January 1st, it just started. So that's nerve-wracking because I'm in that one.
So you're in that one?
Yeah. It's nerve-wracking. At one point in time, I thought acting was like a thing that I should do.
Well, I watched a couple. Which one was it? It was Drifter. I think you were in the Lonesome Highway one, right?
Yeah.
I watched some of that.
Yeah. I'm in the second season.
Drifter Broken Road. Mm-hmm. So going
we also
back.
have a comic, too, that goes with those.
A comic?
Yeah, me and Jason, we wrote a comic.
Did you draw it?
No. I can't draw from my head. I like.
Oh, so you have to see something. Mm-hmm. Well, let's talk about that later. I want to talk about that later. This is the downside to being with a Renaissance woman, is because she knows all of this stuff, and it just like, it's like ADD. You just go all over the place.
That's just how my brain works anyway.
Yeah, it is mine too. So then you have 8 writing credits, which buried in the past.
Oh, yeah. That's something that me and Shannon were going to, I had an idea. It technically wasn't a sequel to Happy Halloween, but the past story was kind of from Happy Halloween.
Okay.
And
so it's in the same universe.
No, not even really. Like, it was just, I was like, what happened to you in Happy Halloween? Like, what would that do to you as a person? Like, what if you, what if you survived?
Like the traumatic events.
Right.
Or
yeah.
whatever.
Like, what would you do? Like, maybe you'd become a detective. And so that's something I was telling Shannon about. I was like, I've got like the opening scene. Like, I don't really know where to go with it.
Serve food to old people at nursing homes.
Maybe.
I don't know. That just came out of it.
But yeah, so I told her the idea and I was like, hey, like, I don't know where to go with it. And so Shannon's an awesome person to be creative with. She's a very creative person and she's like very like open space to be like,
right.
Well, hey, let's throw some stuff out there. And so we started writing it together and we were going to do a short and then the short is now turned into a feature length. So
you wrote the whole thing.
Yeah, I've got about 15 pages to go for it to be like completed. But yeah, we have a pitch package for it.
How long would it take you to write? Like if you were to just sit down and write one of these, how long does it take you to write like a full movie?
Like if I actually sat down, I don't know. It's so hard because if they stop talking to you, like you have to stop writing, like in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
If I forced it, I mean, I could possibly do it in a week if I forced it. Like
I sat down one day.
It's hard though if they stop talking.
I sat down one day. I had been like just thinking of an idea, and I had actually one of them popped up during pushing envelopes, and I started having these ideas popping into my head. And I was like, hey, I'm gonna try it one day. So I sat down with the laptop and I punched out like a 60-page script in probably 3 or 4 hours.
See, that's amazing.
And then I couldn't get the ending done. I just didn't know where it was going to go.
I normally start with my endings.
See,
and you're not supposed to.
I don't.
You're not supposed to. You're not supposed to do that.
I'm going to say there's no rule to it at all.
I'm telling you,
because
you're not.
Honestly,
don't do it.
Right now, here's the problem: is there's a ton of books and classes out there on writing great stories, and I'm not seeing a lot of them.
Yeah, we're in a. I think we're in such a weird.
Right now.
We're such a weird thing, you know, and that's why I want slasher movies to make a comeback. You know what I mean? Because we're in this weird.
We just need to see some people get.
Go look at Netflix right now. Like half of like the quote unquote horror films that are on there are all ghost, demonic. Literally, like most. That's all they've got, and I don't know why. I don't know why we've got to that point because Halloween came out, like Halloween 2018 came out. Just killed it in the box office. Excuse the pun. Killed it in the box office. You know, Halloween Kills was, I mean, because of COVID, didn't come out. Was supposed to come out in October. Coming out next October. You have Scream 5. Yeah, Scream 5's coming out like next October-ish. You know, so you have people want these slasher movies. Like, I don't care what anybody tells you.
Right.
They want it because they remember being kids and like teenagers watching them.
I'm not a huge fan of like the. What do you call them? Like I guess they call them torture porn.
Yeah, I'm not a
huge fan of those. I think they're just nasty to be nasty.
Right,
you know?
like the hostels and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of those.
Yeah, and I don't like, and that's something.
I think it's something from my military background because I know people that are like, I've witnessed people that are like that, and it's not something that I tend to want to sit and watch.
Right,
you know?
yeah, and I don't, and I think that's why I like the slasher films because you can look at, for instance, if you look at the Friday the 13th series, that became kind of like a cult following to like what weapon is he going to use now?
Right.
You know, and he uses a sleeping bag, and there's scary moments, but it's funny because he's like using a sleeping bag to hit somebody, or so I think it turned into something different.
Well, it became fun,
right?
Yeah,
and
it became
then
entertaining,
and that's why. You know,
you
that's why
watch-
Scream was so good.
Have you watched The Wolf of Snow? Is it Snow Hollow?
I have not.
It's
I
on
need to.
Amazon. It's like $2 to rent. It was really good.
Was it? See, and that's, I mean, more of the indie stuff that's coming out
Yeah, this guy
is a lot better right now.
I can't remember what his name is. He did an independent film a couple years ago called Thunder Road, and it was really good. He kind of plays the same character in this, but these girls are getting eaten by a werewolf, and he doesn't
Sounds
believe
like
it.
my kind of movie.
And it's good. It was good. Considering it was like a micro budget film, they did a really good job on it.
Well, and those are the best to listen to commentaries too. Like,
Oh yeah, yeah. Like what they
had to go through.
kind of what they, what we
to
ought
get
to
it
do
done.
is when Happy Halloween gets,
We'll do a commentary.
we'll do a commentary. We'll just watch
gosh,
it
that'd be
and then we
fun.
can do a commentary on it. That'd be fun.
That would be awesome. That's like my favorite thing is to watch commentary on horror films.
We ought to get Debbie and Mike, or Mike. Why did I say Mike? Not
Mickey?
Mike Strange. Mickey.
We should do one for Pushing Envelopes.
Yeah, we ought to just do one.
Oh, that'd be fun.
That'd be kind of cool. Yeah.
Yes. Let's start doing it.
Yeah. Hey, it's my podcast. I can do what I want,
yeah,
right?
That's like, welcome everybody to the commentary. Pick your short film or in and around town, and we'll do a commentary.
That would be fun, on
I
a lot
love
of stuff.
'em.
Have people come in and talk about some of the things. And, I think that's the thing that really, when I got here and realized how big and how awesome this community is of filmmakers and creatives around here, it really got me thinking that's what I've been lacking for so long in my creative life, is I just didn't have that. I didn't have that group. I was on this island all by myself, I thought, and I didn't have anybody I could talk shop with, or I didn't have anybody that I kind of thought I was a little different because of that. And so when I found this tribe in the Springfield area, then I started going, wow, there's a lot of really
It's like
cool
Gilligan's
people.
Island. Like when you turn around and just like walk through and you're like, oh my God, there's like a resort back
There's
here.
natives here.
You're like, what is happening? Like, you guys have been here this whole time? We're like, oh yeah, man, we've passed you a few times. You just haven't seen us. It's like ships in the
Right.
night.
And I think that with the whole COVID thing, that's what really got me thinking, is that's what's, I want everyone to know that we're all still out here.
Right.
We're still working on stuff. We may not be as balls of the wall with it right now.
Right.
But we're going to get there. And
Oh yeah, we're not going away.
this is kind of the calm before the storm right now. Because people have sat around and we've been like, okay, we're ready to start.
Oh, and it's
we're ready to do
you
something.
get like, and that's my thing too, is a lot of people during this time or whatever, some people are like, oh, you should be the most creative, and I don't know, I think it's okay if you're not creative right now. You know what I mean? Like I've had a lot of people asking me like,
Right.
oh, I bet you've drawn so many pictures, or I bet you finished so many scripts, and I'm like, not really. You know what I mean? It's like I don't, if it's there, like I don't want to force myself to finish something,
Right.
and then I'm gonna have to go back and fix it, because like I get into those modes where I finish something to finish it, and then I'm like, man,
I don't want to call anything out, but when you go back and look at let's look at Strange Happenings. Okay. If you were to go back and critique Strange Happenings, you could. You would go back and look at the edit and go, there's things I don't like about this.
oh yeah, for
everybody
sure.
can.
I think that's with anything.
But that had to happen in order for you to be able to look at
Right.
it and go, yeah. And so you don't do that on the next one,
Right.
or the next one, or the next one.
And everything I've done, I'm super proud of. You know what I mean? Because we we got it finished, and
Right.
we got it completed, and Strange Happenings is always gonna have a special place in my heart, because it was like I got, like Brazier had this story idea, and I got to take the story idea and I got to write this character, and it was this character that was kind of like myself. That's like
it was a lot like yourself.
Yeah, that's a lot like me, and it was a fun thing to kind
Which
of play
that's a testament
with.
to the writing, and it's a testament to the actress Hannah.
Hannah, oh yeah,
Yeah. She did really good.
She's
in that.
amazing. Yeah, she just killed it, and like that's another reason why I want the second season so bad, because it's like summer camp. You know what I mean? It's like you want to see all your friends again, and
But that was what was neat about it, is when I saw her, I actually could hear you.
Yeah, there's a couple times, Mark, our guy that edited season 1, there's a couple times where he had audio in and it was me. And I was like, that's me talking. Like, I thought he was doing it like as a joke.
Right.
And he's like, no. Because I don't know, because like I used to have like a thicker Southern accent and like now I don't because I've been away from home. And so it's like who I'm around talking like them, I guess. I don't know. I don't do it on purpose. It's just how my mind works, I guess. Right. And so there's a couple times where I'm running lines with her, and we were rolling. And so he was using my voice, and I was like, dude, you have got to fix that because I do not like how I sound, nor does anybody. And he's like, no, that's Hannah. And I was like, I promise you that is not Hannah, and we have got to take that and we got to throw it away. Like, I don't know what you need to do, but like burn it. And so, yeah, so I was like, I feel bad for Hannah that we sounded similar, but yeah, she was great. She's a joy to work with, and gosh, it just bums me out. Like, I would love to do season 2. Like I said,
how much would it cost to do that season?
Ooh, I don't know. It'd probably like 10 to 15.
And
just because of the werewolf stuff. Like, there's
how
a
many
lot of
days
werewolves.
did you film that?
Oh, we filmed it in June of 2016, I think. I don't know, like 10 days maybe,
really?
11 days. Yeah, because we had to, so like Hannah came in, but we had to kind of go, and one, it was SAG, because Hannah was SAG, so it was a SAG production, so we had to do things a little bit differently. And we had to kind of go on everybody's schedule. So like where I was off, because at the time I was sub-calling, so I was off in the summer. So like for me, June was completely open. But so we kind of had to do, if we could do like full days every day, I think it would have been less time. But yeah, I mean, it was so much fun. I mean, you had Chris and Brazier and Hannah and Kevin Kepi, who is amazing, which we've done a lot of stuff with Kevin and Mickey and having them on there. And Julie Tapkin, she's one of our detectives. She was fabulous. And George Cron was there. And we had, which huge Power Rangers fan, we had David Fielding, who is in the second episode. He's like the original Zordon.
Yeah.
So like having him on set, like we were, you know, Mike like hooked us up and we were at the Dungeons of Doom. We filmed in there and we had like someone come and crash set. That was kind of like a surreal moment. Like someone, like David posted on Instagram with the dragon saying like, hey, I'm here at Dungeons and Dragons, or Dungeons of Doom filming this new web series called Strange Happenings. Some dude comes to set and's like, hey, huge Power Rangers fan, like, can I meet David? And so like we stop production. We all come running down the stairs, and David, like, he was so nice. He took pictures and signed. He brought some stuff to sign so we could have stuff too, and signed a picture for him, you know, took a picture with him, and he left, and he came back upstairs. He was like, guys, I'm so sorry. And we're like, I feel pretty cool that set was just crashed by a fan. I was like, so
that is pretty cool.
I'm fine with it. So yeah, but I mean, it was hot. You know, it's Missouri, June. It was hot and sweaty, and it's a show that should have been shot in fall.
Where did you film that?
So we filmed in Springfield, we filmed in Nixa, and then we also filmed in Willard, which was great. I mean, all of our locations were great. Like, it was awesome because, like, the apartment, we had a lockdown, like, apartment, which was really great and helpful. But there's some stuff, you know, if I could go back, I wish we could have, like, I wish me and Chris could have, like, went to each location.
And
that's
scout
key.
ahead of time.
Yeah, that's key. And there's,
is.
You know, and there's just, when it's so hot, like it makes it so much easier when you have boom, 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 boom. You know what you're doing. You have like your shot list that matches your location. You know what I mean? So it's easy for me to come up with a shot list. It's not easy for me to come up with a shot list when we can't get into the location. So that's another problem with like indie filmmaking is not being able to get to your location until you're there.
It definitely makes you on your toes.
Oh yeah.
How did you ultimately get into all this?
Filmmaking and all that good stuff.
How did that start?
Well, when I was a child. No, I'm just kidding. I have always loved film, like film and television shows, and I never knew, you know, like I would watch something and I would say, man, like I kind of wish they would have done it this way. And like I would kind of come up with my own stories. I just didn't know what I was doing. And, you know, in middle school, I thought, hey, maybe like I'll write. But, you know, I had a few teachers that are like, you're horrible at grammar. You can't spell. You can't be a writer. And so I was just like, fine, forget it. Like maybe I'll act. And so I just didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew I loved it. And then I came out to Springfield after going to Three Rivers, which is near my hometown. I came out to Springfield and I actually met Jason Brazier. We were in like a genre writing class and we had to come up with 2 things. So I came up with a vampire type television show that was super dark. And then I had a short horror script. So he was like, I love like what you wrote. I have this vampire thing. Like, do you think you would want to help me finish writing it? So we started writing it together, and then he was like, hey, I want to start a production company. Would you want to be involved? And I'm like, I don't have money. Like, and he's like, no, neither do I. And then so we started.
Who needs money?
He's like, I don't either. Nobody does. Like, people make movies for free. But so then we started American Wasteland Entertainment, and we just recently kind of parted with that just because of life and, you know, everybody's like taking stuff in different directions. So we started in a writing class, I guess, at MSU. And it was just like, hey, I like what you wrote. And it was like, hey, I liked what you wrote. Do you want to write something together? And so we just started writing something. And we still, to this day, we still haven't even produced like what we started writing together. But yeah, and it just turned into a kind of like a give and take of stuff,
right?
Back and forth. And so that's how I met a lot of people, was from Brazier. And
I saw you in, what was the Nathan Shelton thing? Shadowbound.
Oh yeah.
You acted in that one, didn't you?
No.
You didn't?
I'm not good enough.
You were.
No sirree, Bob.
But I thought were you an extra in that?
No, I helped. Like one day I was like helping with makeup, and
I saw you in one of the promo pieces though.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what that was.
Yeah, I'm in one of the promos.
Okay.
Like one of the pictures, like we're in like old timey clothes or something.
I thought, was she in that?
Yeah, I look ridiculous. No, but like I kind of helped. He was needing help, like doing some behind the scenes stuff, so I kind of helped him a couple times with like doing makeup and tried helping setting some stuff up. And
it says casting department.
Yes,
You're a casting associate.
Yeah, we helped cast.
Oh wait, I want to go through this rundown because I always think
was
these
fun.
are funny.
It was so much fun though, getting to be there with Nathan and like just watching all these people. So casting's fun.
So Brittney, and you all I'll put a link to the IMDb, but I always think this is kind of crazy and amazing. And then if anything just kind of pops out, she has one self-credit of Brittney Greer as Super Geeked Up TV series, self-guest. Additional crew, she was a production assistant. It's in post-production, The Town in the Middle of Nowhere.
Mm-hmm. That's where I met Shannon.
South of Swan Creek, which I watched. Whoops, hit the microphone. I watched that one.
That was very cold.
Yeah, it looked like it was.
It was freezing. You couldn't think. Again, it's like you get too hot, you can't think. You get too cold, like you can't think. We need happy mediums.
Special effects, you have 3 credits. Nostalgic Consecuto. Is that? Oh, that's the Mickey stuff. Yeah, okay. And then
Mickey and Cammy.
The Bridge. That one is yet to be finished. Consecuto, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then The Bridge. Those are all shorts, and you did special effects and makeup on those.
Mm-hmm. I made someone look like a dead body for one of them. I did like fog and stuff.
Oh,
for
cool.
Nostalgic, I did like all the fogging and the bridge.
Okay.
I made somebody look like a dead. It was my first dead body. Like they were supposed to be like in a like a morgue
right.
or whatever. So it's fun. Like we found like a table. And we put them on a table. And we had like a sheet, and it wasn't even a sheet. I think it was a T-shirt that we just ripped. It was like one of our.
So you just kind of stand off camera, and if you see him breathe, you smack him on the head. And go, stop breathing.
Oh, it was just for pictures. Like, so we did all this because it was for Sado. We did it all for like pictures.
Okay.
But like, yeah, I was so nervous because like, guys, I've never done a dead body. Like, I usually just like cuts and blood and bruises, and they're like, it's fine. Just do like a pale version of that. But it was great. Yeah, it was fun.
Set director for Drifter, Lonesome Highway.
Mm-hmm.
So did you just have to like get some junked up cars and stuff like that for Drifter?
Well, I mean, finding stuff like that,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Yeah.
then, like actually setting the scenes, you know, like finding, like, as in, Lonesome Highway, there's, like, which was awesome because we filmed at Mike's studio,
Oh, okay.
who's, I mean, again, Mike and Madison
Oh,
and Lily.
Studio
Yeah.
2060,
Yeah,
right?
they're amazing. And so we filmed multiple scenes there.
Well, we pretty much filmed Buddy Cops
All in that
there,
area?
all in that area over there, which was fun.
And he has, so, I mean, he has tons of stuff. So
oh, yeah.
which, like, you can, like, rent props from them. They have, like, prop department.
What's the name of the dummy that Mike has?
The one from You're Next?
I don't know which one. Mickey made it sound like he's had more than one, but here's a funny story. So I was doing BTS footage, and I was also an extra one day for Vincent's Vow.
Uh-huh.
And there was this scene at the Gilloy's Theater. So I went in, and I had my camera, and of course Mike and all of them are in there filming and stuff. And I see this guy, and he's just laying up on the stage. He's going like this on the stage. He's got his hand on his head.
Take a little snoozer.
And he's just kind of laying on his side, and he's laying up there on the stage. And I was like, that's cool. And so I'm walking around and filming and stuff like that. And I'm getting up there closer and getting a couple different angles. And like I said, I was just doing some BTS stuff, and it was really pretty. They had lights all on. It looked really good. And I got up there really close, and it looked like the guy was sleeping. And I was like, guy's sleeping up there. I was like, man, his hand's got to be hurting because he's holding his head. You know, he's like sleeping
Right.
like this, laying on his side with his hand holding his head up. And I even filmed some shots with him and stuff like that. And I thought, I felt kind of weird. I get up there closer, and it was a dummy. And I was like, that dude looked real.
I bet it's from Your Next. He's got a few of them. For Drifter Lonesome Highway, we had to have some bodies out in a field, and he brought some of his dummies. And I'm laying down, like, I've got a picture of me,
Right.
like, in costume, like, laying down, like, next to this dead body, because I loved Your Next, and I was like, this is a dead body from Your Next. But it's like, those would creep me out to no end.
Well, and there was one that they had a dead body that they threw into, well, I don't want to ruin one of Mickey's films. They threw a dead body into a pit, and
is that one of them?
And I think it was one of them. I don't know. I can't
They're
tell.
great. I mean, they're so amazing at what they do over there.
So then
But
you
yeah,
were in
those
the
look great.
you were in the casting department of Shadowbound, and then you were the director of not yet, soon.
Yeah, soon. Fingers crossed.
Audition 105.
That was another thing with Debbie.
That was with Debbie and David Barnett
Yes. Yeah.
and Chris.
Chris.
And then there was somebody else in that one there. Or was there just three people?
I think there's just 3 people.
And David and Debbie, didn't they win? They won
I believe so,
They won an
yeah.
award on that one.
That's so sad.
Yeah.
It bums me out. He was a great guy to work with.
Yeah, it
It's
kind
a
of
sad
sneaks up
thing,
on you.
yeah.
Yeah. Let's see.
But I was so glad that I got to work with him
Yes.
a couple of times because of
Yes.
Debbie. Like 3
Yeah.
times I've got to work with him because of Debbie. So I mean, I'm very
Yeah.
thankful to Debbie, one, for letting me to be on all the sets, and because like I said, she's amazing to work with, and she's very supportive, and so that's another one of the many reasons why, like, I'm thankful for Debbie. But it's like I got to work with him
Oh yeah.
through, you know what I mean, through her. So
David was my first best buddy when I moved to Springfield.
really,
Yeah, I had reached out to John because I didn't know anything about the area, and so I had reached out to Jonna Voles, and Jonna said, "Well, hey, I'm going to get you invited to this Sato summer party, and I'll let you meet Jeff and Jaw and all that, and then this would be a great thing for you to kind of get introduced." And so I went to that party that night, and David Barnett and Jonna Voles and a couple other people were standing around, and they were talking, and I just kind of went up and started talking. And David goes, "You know who you look like?" And I said, "Who?"
I don't know.
He goes, "You look like Josh Brolin." And I was like, "Oh." He goes, "Yeah." you totally could sell Josh Brolin right now. I was like, oh, well, thanks, man.
You're like, done. Done and done.
So then, like, within the few minutes, you know Curtis Stout.
Uh-huh.
Curtis,
I know of him. I don't know.
Curtis was standing right there. And so me and Curtis got to talking, and then me and David and Curtis got to talking, and then we all were like, hey, let's go over. Jonna's sister was playing with her band. What's that? What are they called? Soul DeVille. They were playing over at some bar, and so we all went over and hung out. And that
Isn't it weird how it just happened?
yeah.
Like,
And so David and Curtis and I, we hung out that night. I think we stayed out till like 3 o'clock in the morning talking about acting and movies and all this stuff. And I didn't know that there were people that did this stuff. I was always a stage guy, like
Right.
talking theater. I didn't know people sat around and did the same thing but talked about film. And I was like, this is awesome. I
Oh,
can't
yeah.
wait. And Curtis hadn't even been doing anything ever at that point. He'd been doing a few things. But then after that, I kind of had a little bit of a hiatus because I got busy with work again, and then all of a sudden, everybody was off to the races, and we were like making films and doing all kinds of crazy stuff, and it was a ton of fun. But David was my first best bud here, and we would call and we'd talk to each other, and we would go. He would tell me, and I would go up there to Jonna's acting class and go sit in, and we'd sit and talk shop. It was fun.
It's always nice to find people that, especially with movies, because I feel bad for my family because I try to shut my brain off when I'm watching something. It doesn't work all the time. But you know what I mean? Like when you're watching something and, I'm like, man, like I'll research and I'm like, oh, so that's how they did that. Or
Yeah.
I'm like, I wonder how they did that shot, and like my family's like, what are you talking about? Like, it looked pretty. You know what I mean? Like, but it's just,
Right.
it's so it's nice when you can find people that you can say, oh yeah, like,
Well,
when they did this, how did they do that?
Right.
Like, and you can talk like, well, I wonder if we can do that, or how can we recreate
well, you're
that?
studying film,
Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're studying it.
Sometimes it would be nice to just shut. Usually, and that's why I miss going to the theater so much, because like when I'm in the theater, I can usually shut stuff down.
Yeah.
Because of the environment.
It
that
does
you're
help
in.
a lot more.
But when I'm like at the apartment, it's like
Yeah.
I'll pause it, like I'll rewind it.
You feel like you have to work.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just like back and forth and back and forth.
Well, you
and-
know what's funny is New Year's Eve, we went over to some friends to go play cards. And so we were, playing cards, and the kids were downstairs, and they came up and they said, hey, we want to watch a movie upstairs. And we were like, yeah, as long as it's not, something lame, you guys can
Right.
watch it.
It better be good.
Right. It better be a good movie. And so one of the kids goes, I think it might have been my son. And my son's 13. He's the oldest one of all the kids that were there. And he goes, can we watch Jaws?
And you're like, oh, I'm so proud right now.
And I'm like, yeah. I said, what's it rated? And he goes, PG. And I go, is it really? And he goes, yeah, it's PG.
They got away with everything back then.
And I was like, you got to be kidding me. And it was rated PG. I always thought Jaws was rated R,
Yeah.
right?
No.
And so, and I've seen the movie, I don't know how
And it
many
feels
times.
like it's R. Like it feels like it should be R when
It
you're watching
feels
it.
like a hard R movie.
Yeah.
Even just the setup and everything on it, it feels like a hard R movie. And then I remembered why it wasn't a hard R, or why it wasn't an R-rated movie, because they took out one element out of the book that they had actually thought about filming, and that was that Hooper and Brody's wife actually have an affair in the book.
Oh, that would have bummed me out. I'm glad they didn't do that.
And then he gets eaten at the end. So if you haven't seen Jaws, he doesn't get eaten at the end of the movie. Richard Dreyfuss.
Yeah.
But-
Suckers.
We were sitting here and the kids started watching it. And I mean, all of a sudden, like when because I remember seeing, my dad let me watch this movie when I was a little kid.
It messes you up.
And there was a couple scenes that I remember when I was watching, I was like, oh my gosh. And they're kind of etched into your brain, right? Like you can see the dude's face that pops out of the bottom of the boat, when he's down there swimming. Or
Okay, I still to this day, I don't like being in water. Like I mean, like I have friends that live in the pool, in the lake, in the ocean, and I'm like, I feel like Jaws is everywhere. Like,
dun, dun,
yeah,
dun, dun.
that's what you hear. Like I
Every
hear it
single
in my
time.
head. Like
Especially out in the ocean, with the way, like if you're out there in the ocean,
You
and that's
always
like
think
that
you see
first
something.
thing that pops into your head.
I can remember when, and I love Deep Blue Sea. Like a lot of people don't.
Oh,
like
yeah, I like Deep Blue Sea.
I love Deep Blue Sea. But I remember me and my best friend, like, I don't know, like in 8th grade or something, we went to the beach and, you know, you're 8th grade, cute boys on the beach. They're like, hey, we want to show you guys something. Idiots. Like now I'm like, what dummies. So they're like, we have to swim out into the water. So the whole entire time, like I'm swimming out to like, we're just swimming. I'm not a great swimmer anyways. So we're swimming out there and the whole entire time, like I'm just seeing like mako sharks that are genetically enhanced, like just tracking me. And then I'm seeing jaws like coming up from below. We get out there and it's like there was like a sandbar and you know it's deep because it was really cold. And we stand up and it was like waist high. And we were I couldn't see people. Like we were so far from the shore. And
You're
like,
lucky you got out there because you can get tired.
oh
like,
God, yes.
Really easy swimming out in that stuff.
Oh yeah, and we could have gotten eaten. Like we could have gotten, I mean, all kinds of things could have happened. Obviously I'm here, so it didn't. But you know, we stand up and I look and I got the sickest feeling in my stomach because it was just horizon. And then I turn around and I couldn't even see like where her parents were because they were so tiny. So on the way back, you know, they tell you.
You're standing
like,
out there and that's when the narrator comes in and says, and then reality set in.
100%. Like I was sick to my stomach. I was like, I'm going to freaking throw up out here, like next to these cute guys. And it's like, what are we going to do? So we turn around and like, okay, now we can go back. Like we just wanted to show you this sandbar that's out here. And it was so cold and it was black. Like you couldn't see anything. And so, you know, we start swimming and you're in the ocean. So there's fish and there's seaweed. So stuff's touching me all the way back. And the whole entire time, like I'm splashing around like you're not supposed to do. And I'm just like, the whole entire time back, I'm like, please get me to the shore. I will never do anything for a cute guy ever again. Like, I promise. Like, please just give me the shore.
Because that's what happened to the girl at the beginning of Jaws, too,
Yeah,
right?
just
she
'cause it was
decided to go
stupid,
out
yeah.
there and go swimming.
Yeah.
And she
Stupid.
got eaten.
Oh, and it's just like, you just hear it. Like, and it's just that tone from that film. And it's just so loud. And like, and so like literally since then, I don't think I've been in the water, like in beach water, you know, the beach, the ocean is what I think, as I think normal people call it, the ocean, not beach water. But like to this day, like I'm getting flushed thinking about it. 'Cause it's like, I mean, I don't think I've ever been that sick to my stomach before. Well, and now you see like the pictures above Florida, like above the shoreline, and there's like friggin' thousands of sharks just swimming around out there.
Yeah.
We're so lucky we didn't get
having drones has taken away the ignorance is bliss.
Oh gosh, yes.
Element of it.
Oh, it was awful.
One thing about it though, it was like, because what we were kind of talking about is how you can't enjoy a movie anymore.
Right.
But we were watching Jaws the other night, and every like scene, all of a sudden these scenes would pop up and I was like, wait a minute, that's why I love this movie, was because of there's so many good scenes. Camera doesn't cut. It's a nice long take. The actors are just acting. It's perfectly blocked. The background looks great. The camera's in the right spot.
And it's like you don't realize.
And you don't
that's
realize it's
like,
going on.
it.
And you start looking at like what we do as filmmakers nowadays, and we go, oh, let's move the camera over here. Let's have coverage over here. No. Set the camera and tell the story. You know, and that's what Jaws. Whenever
Jaws does it really well.
Whenever Steven Spielberg really needed to jack up the edit and have all this, you know, build the tension, there's a ton of cuts. But when he wants you to focus on what these people are doing and focus on the performance, there's no cut. There's one scene where they're on this ferry and the mayor is telling him that he needs to open the beaches.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Just like, don't open them.
And my friends and my wife, we were all sitting there and I said, guys, watch this scene. I said, and tell me what's interesting about it. And the camera is sitting in one spot. They walk onto the ferry. They're talking. The ferry moves. The camera stays in the same spot. And then I said, what would have happened if they would have had to take it again? And my son was like, they'd have to drive that boat all the way back over the other side. I said, yeah.
100%.
I said, look at how awesome that scene was. That's what made that scene great, was because that whole scene just happened they just let it happen.
Yeah. Instead of forcing it.
Instead of forcing it and going, okay, let's stop that. Let's get coverage over here. He probably didn't have time.
Right.
He probably didn't have
grand,
time.
Yeah, in the grand scheme of
But
things.
he had Richard Dreyfuss and Roy Scheider, and I can't remember what the guy that played the mayor, and there was another guy. They had really good actors on stage.
Right. It's like you don't need a lot of fancy.
You don't need a lot of fancy. Just let the scene play out, and it worked really good. And watching that the other night inspired me, and it got me to thinking. It's like, you sit here and you really get all wound up with your camera shots and your camera angles and what camera you're going to use and what lens. Just shoot it.
Yeah, because that's what they do a lot nowadays. You know what I mean? And that's something that me and David had talked about is it's great and fun to have like your push-ins and then the pull-outs and like wrapping around the character. You know what I mean? Like wrapping all the way around and like going behind somebody's shoulder. And like that's something that he and I were talking about for Happy Halloween, something we were discussing for future plans. And he's like, and it's fun and it's great. He's like, and of course you want to have that movement. He's like, but there's times
it's got to be motivated.
There's times like when you really need to set in and just dig your heels in and let the scene play out. And so it's crazy that you bring that up because
really
we were
is.
literally, we were talking about that maybe a month ago.
And it's sometimes just because you got a 5-foot slider doesn't mean the camera needs to slide 5 foot.
Right.
It might be better just to have the camera slide 5 inches. It might be enough.
But everyone's so excited about all the toys.
Right.
It's like they've got all these toys. And that's why, a lot of people are like, you can make a feature for $10,000. That sounds ridiculous. And I'm like, well, we would like to have more money, but it's plausible that it could be done for $10,000. It's like, would we like to have the top of the line of everything? Would I like to have every actor have their own trailer? Why not? Would I like to shut down all the streets? Of course I do. Is that plausible around here? Not really.
But you know what? Here's the amazing thing about that, Brittney, and this is why I think that you should go at it with a vigor, and that's why I wanted to have you on the podcast, is because I really do truly believe that this is how we're going to get back to entertaining our audience. Is that if you can go out and make a great film for $10,000, you will destroy Hollywood.
Right, yeah, because you don't need millions. I mean, it's nice to have millions of dollars.
Right.
But a lot of times you don't.
But if they can come out and they can find out that, hey, you didn't need to have $5 million to make it. You needed $1 million so you could pay your cast and your crew to come in here and pay them a reasonable salary, basically, to put their heart and soul out there. If you can do it for that much money and you can figure out how to do it, you'll upend Hollywood. Oh, yeah. Because that's the problem right now, is they've gotten themselves so stinking expensive.
Like these $1 billion films, it seems like, to where it's like you don't, like, and that's what this year's been. They've been terrified. Like, they haven't been wanting to.
Like, how much did Wonder Woman cost? Wonder Woman 1984, how much did that cost, you think?
I don't know. It cost a lot.
You talk about it. I'm going to look it up here because
my feelings on the film.
So full transparency, that was one of the first things we discussed when we sat down was Wonder Woman 1984.
Yeah, which we both agree it has its faults. I liked it for what it was. I feel like it was never, regardless of what anybody will tell you, I don't think it was ever meant to be better than the first one. I think it was meant to be a stepping stone to get to what they were wanting to do in the third one, to be honest. And I think they were just wanting to show a different side of Wonder Woman. I feel like, we were talking about the early Superman movies and the early Wonder Woman TV show. I think they were trying to go back to that feeling. And the best way to capture that feeling is to make this movie set in 1984. I think that's why they did it. I think it does have a lot of problems. Like, I'm not saying that. But as far as, like, one, I think it's hard to say it's bad because Gal is so good at being Wonder Woman. Like, I think she's just magic on screen.
I would agree. I think she's not the problem.
No, I think
she wasn't the problem in it.
The devices, like we talked earlier, I think some of the story devices that they chose to use to push the story forward were issues and problematic. And I mean, I don't know. It's hard. It was the first one was very visually dynamic because they were in a war. Like, they were in an actual war. You know what I mean? So it's like that time frame lends itself to have more, in my opinion, some more cinematic feels to it.
Well,
and having the God of War be like your main bad guy, it's kind of hard to go to a guy with a wishing stone, essentially.
I think the other thing too is, and this is what's always easy in most cases with a war film. War films are easy in one thing, is because you see what the cost is. And the problem with Wonder Woman 1984 is, and this was the biggest problem with it. And if you haven't seen the movie, the embargo is up, and I really don't care if you have seen it. You can stop the podcast now, go watch it for 2 hours, come back and listen to the podcast.
Right.
But the idea is that in the very beginning of the movie, they brought up the idea that you shouldn't cut corners.
Right, yeah.
Which I thought was a great moral.
It was like and
it was a great setup. They did a great job of having her come in and, and
it's beautiful. It's always great to see them.
Yeah.
Like to see all the Amazons together or whatever.
And then I don't think we ever got that lesson.
I think
they tried.
Loose. Yeah.
It was very loose that you could make a wish and it would make everything better again. I understand it, but I still feel it still feels wrong, or it still feels like I could have missed the mark on that idea, but it's a very loose way of getting to it.
And the only time I think it really kind of hits home is, which I love, the White House scene.
Yes.
Where she's kind of fighting Barbara, and like Steve's kind of fighting in the background. And like, I love it because which I know she's weaker at this point, but you can kind of see, again, because Gal's just so great as that character, I think. But like, you see her pulling her punches, you see her taking hits,
right,
and getting tossed around. Like, you see her taking all that stuff because she does not want to hurt this person.
The vulnerability,
right? Yeah. And then when she's kind of laying on the ground, you see it a little bit, like when Barbara's like, "What is it costing you?"
Well, and when you're talking about Barbara, you're talking about
Cheetah,
right? Yeah, which was played by Kristen Wiig, right? Yeah.
So I mean, and I liked that moment because it's like the look that Gal has on her face, she like her arms bleeding and she looks paler. You know what I mean? Like they've made her look like, cause a lot of times they make her look very shiny and goddess like, like her complexion's gorgeous.
Yeah, they definitely took her makeup off for that scene because she looked very different in it.
Yeah, they have her very, very pale and sickly looking. And so like that moment, like when I'll call her Cheetah for everybody but like when Cheetah's like, because she pretty much says like, I don't care what it's costing me. Like, I'm fine with it.
Right.
Like, I like me this way. What's it costing you? Because again, I liked it because they kind of flipped the script and it's like, obviously the villain does not care what they're losing to get what they gain.
That's why they're the villain.
That's why they're the villain. And I love it because, again, Wonder Woman is that justice seeker, you know what I mean? So where it's like, but what is it costing you? I don't care. Like, so to me, that's the only time it really hit home.
Well, all I got to say is this, is it's really hard to find out what the budget of Wonder Woman is.
Is it not showing up? They probably got it on lockdown because I bet it's way more than what they've actually made.
It's made $100 million as of right now. I guarantee you
it's probably more than.
I bet it's more than that.
I would assume it's between 200 and 300 to make it, is what I would assume. I could be wrong. They didn't. The first one didn't have that much money because Warner Brothers, like that's the thing with.
And that goes back
to they don't care because they're thinking Wonder Woman's not going to do well. We'll give you some money. Zack Snyder helped out a lot on that set. He kept kind of the vultures at bay, kept them away from Patty so they could do what they thought needed to be done with the character, and it did extremely well. And it's like, as soon as it does extremely well, they're like, ooh, what can I do? And they just start putting their hands and stuff. And you're like, stop.
Well, and they didn't stray too far from the formula, honestly.
No,
from the first one to the second one.
And it feels like it feels like a superhero movie.
It does. They didn't, and the reason why they didn't stray is because they reintroduced Chris Pine back into it again with a very flimsy,
just to get him back in, because I mean, everybody loved Steve Trevor. I mean, they're too good together.
The problem is that the first movie really didn't have too much star power in it. I mean, Gal Gadot, she wasn't a huge star at that point. Even what's his face that played the God of War, he's not.
Yeah, I mean he plays Ramus.
Yeah. He plays
but
in Harry
but
Potter.
it's like I couldn't tell you his name. Like
Right.
I know he's Ramus from Harry Potter.
He's familiar looking, but you haven't
Right.
seen it. And so really the only person that was really bringing people in to that film,
that people were like, "Oh, I know this guy."
Right.
Was Chris Pine.
yeah, it was Chris Pine. And they only brought Chris Pine in because they know girls will buy tickets to go see Chris Pine. I mean, my wife would be one of them that would go and watch Chris Pine.
Right, and I think they like. Oh, I literally just
It's
watched.
a cheap shot.
Yeah, I just rewatched. See, give me Henry Cavill over Chris Pine.
Yeah.
But I just rewatched the first one 2 nights ago. I think.
If they just would have made Chris Pine like Green Lantern.
Yes. Or something give them. Because if you haven't seen it, sorry. But it's and so when they bring him back and the way they bring him back, he's not. And again,
He's not back for good.
Right. In that moment, again, I wasn't mad at it because Gal does it so well. She's way more talented than people give her credit for. But when she's running away,
yeah.
and she's running down the street and it's like she's getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And it's like, and then she just lets out that scream. I don't know. I liked it.
They could have fixed it. They could have fixed all of this. They could have fixed all of this really easy.
By not putting it in 1984?
No, they leave it in 1984. And what actually happens is they borrow one from Justice League, which they're going to be introducing.
Yeah.
The Flash comes back in accident and he changes the timeline.
Yeah, because they're doing Flashpoint. It's about to start filming.
And so then Steve Trevor's back in. They can sign Chris Pine for Wonder Woman 3, and then that fixes the whole timeline stuff and fixes the old stuff.
And then brings them back if they want to bring them back. Because it's like, again, even if you don't know me, you probably know.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Next time, Warner Brothers, just give me a call.
Yeah, we'll help you
I'll
out.
take care of it. I'll do it for $50,000. It's all right.
Yeah, don't worry. Your films will be cut in half. Promise.
Right.
But it's I'm a huge DC person, and that's something I'm real jazzed about is Flashpoint, because it's I love Keaton and I love Batfleck, so I'm super jazzed for Flashpoint, and it's you're right, it's that's why I love Zack Snyder so much. It's because he wants to make a comic book movie from the comics, so if you look.
Like Watchmen.
Right, yeah.
And see,
10 years from now.
I'm a fan of Watchmen. I loved Watchmen.
It's in my top 5 favorite superhero movies of all time.
I would say it's probably in my top 10.
Yeah, 10 years from now, people are going to think we're crazy that movie didn't rule the box office. I am telling you, 10 years from now, people are going to be, people are going to be what were you thinking? This movie, you want a comic book movie, this, it's
if
page
you look
for
at
page.
the sheer art form of Watchmen.
The colors.
And I know that Alan Moore didn't care for it. That's fine. I just don't think he likes anything of his.
I don't think he does either.
It doesn't necessarily.
I don't think he counts.
I really don't think it. I mean, there's a reason why he writes what he does. Is he just doesn't like conventional comics anyways. That's why he tears them apart and makes characters different, and that's
and they still feel the same.
Right. But the Watchmen, when it came out, I was really surprised because I had read the comics and I went back through and I thought it was, and I didn't read the comics as they came out. I read the big graphic novel. I read it from front to back, and I thought it was great. I thought it was a really cool
concept, the concept.
Because I had a long period of no comic books. So when I was a kid, I was 14, 15 years old. I was reading comics. So then I kind of stopped when I got a car.
Well, it's hard because they put so many out so quickly. Yeah. It's hard to stay. I was
a huge Spider-Man guy, so I used to read all the Spider-Man comics and all that. I have the Incredible Hulk #1.
Do you?
I do.
You got that on lock?
I do have it on lock.
Got it on lockdown.
I do have it on lock. I
wish
found
I had
it.
I wish I had a cool. Well, I do have Vision #1.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, my dad gave it to me. He was big into art and comics and stuff like that, and he was like, "Look what I found." And
that's awesome.
Yeah, so I guess I do have a first issue of the Vision, his first appearance.
Really? Mm-hmm.
Remind me, I'll send you a picture. It's
pretty
sweet.
I'll send you pictures of mine. I have the first appearance of the Punisher.
That's
Spider-Man 270. Amazing Spider-Man number 270 something.
Yeah, my ex has that. He's a
huge
huge Punisher fan.
Really?
Mm-hmm. That's the one where it's like Spider-Man. It's like he's
It's also introducing the Jackal.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I have that.
It's like in the scope.
I have that one, and I found the Incredible Hulk. So the story behind that is I was about, I was probably about 13, 14 years old, and I had been reading pretty religiously, Spider-Man comics, and out at the little mall that in the town that I grew up in, Jefferson City, Missouri, they had this like a swap meet going on in the mall. And so I was going through, and they had all the boxes, and they had them all in their individual bags. And I was going through, and I was kind of shuffling through them. Excuse me. And I saw the comic, and I was like, oh. And so my mom and my brother were down at the Foot Locker at the time. They were down there, buying some shoes for my brother. And so I took off running. I hid the comic, and stuck it in the spot.
Just in case.
And I took off running. I ran all the way down to because I didn't have any money. I mean, this was in the 80s. So I had no money. I run all the way down the mall, and I found my mom, and I said, Mom, I need $1 for this. I need $1 for this. No, I told her, I said, it was 25 cents. The comic was 25 cents. I didn't have a quarter on me. That's how poor I was. And I said, Mom, I need a quarter for this, this comic. And my mom's like, I'm not giving you a quarter for a comic. And I go, Mom, seriously, I need a quarter for this comic.
I need you to do this.
And she was like, I am not giving you a quarter. And my mom was very conservative, very like penny pincher. And I said, if you don't give me a quarter, I'm going to steal it. And she was like, here, take $1.
I will become a thief.
And she goes, and I want that 75 cents. And I was like, okay. So I fly down there, and I walk up, and I thought, okay, I'm going to have to buy something else with this. I can't just go up there and buy this comic. Because there was an older couple that was running this thing. And I was like, oh, I need to buy something else. So I picked up it was a Captain America comic, and I threw it on top of it. And I walked up there, and I bought both of them for 50 cents. And I came back over, and of course I got in trouble because you
took a quarter
I took another extra quarter, but I gave it, and I told Mom all the way home, I said, you're going to wait till I tell Dad. Because I had one of those big, thick comic book price guides. And I got home, and like mint condition of the Incredible Hulk then was like $30,000. And my mom was like, I don't believe it. And I was showing it to my dad. I go, Dad, this is it. Like, this is it. It's the gray Hulk. It's everything.
Yeah.
And he was like, wow.
He's like, good find.
It's kind of like that one thing that I've always had. And the price has gone up quite a bit on it, but I think in order to grade those,
you have to grade them, and like it costs you
it costs you like a percentage of what the final grade is.
If it's like $100,000, you could be out $15,000,
right?
For them to just
grade it.
To grade it, like you can't get that advance. You know what I mean? It's like they wouldn't give you $100,000 for you to be able to like, okay, here's 15. Like you would actually have to have that.
Right, to do
Which to me is kind of insane.
It is.
Because what they could do is they could say, well, I'll give you $10,000.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? So it's like, so you're like,
because they know they have a buyer out there.
Right, yeah. And then they could sell it for $150,000.
I may just let you, because you go to like Comic Cons and stuff like that, right? Next time you go to Comic Con, if you have one, next time you go to one, just go, hey, I know a guy that has Incredible Hulk. He'll sell it for this much.
And just see what they say. Yeah, because they have people there that
I really don't have any,
them.
And I may go to one time. Maybe the next time there is one, maybe like shoot me a text and say, hey,
sure.
Because I'd like to take some of them up there. I mean, they're not,
they're
just collecting dust right now. I mean, they're not collecting dust, but they're
right. But if you could get
if somebody else out there can enjoy it, I'd rather them enjoy it. I did have a friend one time that had Superman #1.
And like right now, that would be insane.
Yeah.
I'm not lucky enough to have anything that's like worth, like even it being #1 Vision, like it's not worth like a ton of money because it's not like it's worth more now that he's been in the movies and they're doing a show, like he's in the show or whatever, but he was never like a huge thing for like outside people. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like true comic book fans are like, oh, that's awesome. But most people, they're not like Vision fans.
Well, and I wanted to say something when you were talking about Wonder Woman is that I really liked the beginning of the movie. Like the beginning of the movie they did a really good job editing and the pace of it and everything for like the first, what would you say, about 20 minutes after the mall scene, right? And even when they kind of introduced Kristen Wiig early on, and then all of a sudden the air to me fell out of the film and it just got really slow.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's, like, I don't want to say it's Kristen Wiig's fault necessarily, but I think it's just what they decided to do with that character. You know what I mean? And I think so many people were excited because they were like, one, people are nervous because Kristen Wiig hadn't really done anything like that. So, which, if Heath Ledger tells us anything, we should all just stop complaining about who they casted as these characters,
right? And
just assume they've cast them for a reason. Because I think she did a good job. Like I said, like that whole White House scene.
Yeah.
Like I think, I mean, she.
But
holds
that would have
her
been
own.
a better scene if she was the cheetah then.
Right. Yeah.
That would have been a better scene.
I don't know why, and I do know why. They're showing a progression. You know, Wonder Woman's getting weaker. She's getting stronger. Like she's becoming more like. It's like I totally get what they were trying to do. They should have done it faster. By that point in the movie, she should have been Cheetah. But I think, I could be wrong, but I think they didn't do it because that was a day lit scene. Like, it was lit very well. And I think it was are we going to be able to pull this off as her as full Cheetah and do all this stuff? With so much sunlight coming in these windows.
I don't know.
And then in the dark stuff, like, because there's a couple of moments when it's dark and it's not super great looking.
If they would have cut 30 minutes off that film.
That's what everybody's saying.
If they would have cut 30 minutes off that film, and not to say that it doesn't need to, I mean, I'm the first person. I love watching long movies. I do. I love watching long.
Like Batman vs. Superman, Man of Steel. Those could have been 3.5 hours, and I would.
Those are fine with me. Watchmen is a really long movie. I love.
It's so good though.
Yeah.
But those are done to where it doesn't feel like there's moments where you're seeing too much or like you're not needed. Like, but I don't know. There's moments in 1984 that it felt like
it was.
I don't really need to see this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even do I not want to see this part? Like I don't even need to see it.
I don't care.
Right, yeah. Like I think they did way too much stuff with Max Lord and his kid. Like there's like because they kind of
beat you over the head
right.
with the like whenever he was talking about how much. I mean, we understand in one scene, really, in about one scene that he didn't appreciate his son. Mm-hmm. I mean, and that could have been taken care of really quick, and it didn't.
You could have just had the one scene where he was like, "Oh, like, do I have him again?" And she's like,
"But it makes me think." It's your
weekend, and then he runs off. It's like that's all you needed. You didn't need all the other stuff.
It makes me think that Wonder Woman, and I hate to say it this way because it's probably going to piss somebody off, but Wonder Woman failed because of the two male characters in the film. It failed because of Chris Pine, and it failed because of Pedro Pascal.
Which sucks because they're both great.
They're great, and that's why, because Pedro Pascal is the Mandalorian, and Chris Pine has been on a winning streak for a while. Yeah. And they wrote more into those characters, and those were that's not who was the person that people were coming to see. Right. They were coming to see Wonder Woman fight Cheetah.
Yeah, and that's kind of what they made you believe in the trailer.
And then they pulled a rope-a-dope at the very end, and then all of a sudden there's this kind of weird scene with her and the cheetah, and it just didn't.
Yeah, and it's like if that would have been, I don't know, like, and I think they did we're gonna have two main bad guys, and one of them, you know what I mean? It's like they do, and so I get it. Like I get why some people are concerned, like when you have like Flashpoint, for instance, when they're talking about there's going to be multiple villains.
And if you don't understand what Flashpoint is a storyline of, and we're talking in the DC universe right now. Flashpoint is an alternate. It's an alternate. No, it's not alternate. It's a different Earth, right?
Yeah. Well, the Flash pretty much runs back in time.
It's
essentially, and he goes too far. He goes to I don't know which Earth it is. But like he's in a world where Batman is actually Bruce's father.
Yes.
And Bruce died.
Right.
And so Thomas Wayne is Batman and his mother is the Joker, which is fabulous. But so it's like and so there's different.
It's rather complicated.
Right, yeah, but you have different characters. Like Wonder Woman, if I'm thinking right, is kind of a bad guy. Like if I'm thinking right.
Yeah.
Like so you have,
and so is
you have
Superman,
these other
right?
Yeah. And so you have these it was just DC's way of being able, like, I don't know, Barry screws stuff up all the time. Like he, like, they tell him not to do stuff and he just does it. Yeah, he just does it anyways.
Flash is an idiot.
Right. But there's so I mean, so I see why people get concerned. You know, it's like with Batman Forever. Like a lot of people didn't like Batman Forever. I like it. It feels like a comic book movie. I think Jim Carrey and Tommy Lee Jones are fabulous. I think they're so much fun. But
See, now, I like Val Kilmer. I thought Val Kilmer was one of my and Nicole Kidman was hot in it.
She does great. Well, and it's like, I mean, I don't know. Like you have, when they bring in Robin and they're like, oh, well, it's just too much. And it's like, so I see why people have the issue. And it's kind of like, well, we should have like one main bad guy. Like that's why we should have one main bad guy, is because some of these other films faltered. And it's like, they're faltering because they're not doing it 100% correctly.
Well,
in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean,
and that's why I think Wonder Woman is kind of the issue, is they have two bad guys, and the bad guy that people wanted to see is the one that you barely gave any screen time to.
Well, in Wonder Woman, for, you know, all intents and purposes, we didn't see her for almost 30 to 40 minutes.
Gosh, yeah. And it's like her shield, she didn't have her shield, she didn't have her sword.
Right.
So I mean, a lot of people were kind of upset about that stuff, which that stuff didn't bother me that much, because I was just like, she's in 1984. Maybe she feels she doesn't need to be wielding a shield and a sword right now. Like the guy, you know what I mean? The guy she's facing, like they were trying to show you like, hey, she's stopping robberies, she's stopping like assaults, like she doesn't just face the God of War. Like, you know what I mean? Like she does like small level superhero heroics.
Yeah. And I think that was, to me, that's what I liked about like the first 20 minutes of the film, was kind of that.
It was showing, you know, she doesn't like guns,
the
you know,
fun
and she
part,
like crushes the guns. And I just wish they would have done more
I think that
of the hand-to-hand fighting like that they did in the first one. You know what I mean? Like where you're seeing her, like when she's in that bell tower and she like busts the gun over her back and like she's sliding around, and I just wish they would have done more.
Well, that was because Zack Snyder was on that one. Well,
can we just say I liked the first one probably because of Zack Snyder?
That brings me to my thought, because I've been working on a script I've been working on a couple scripts for about 2 years now. Right when I got here, I started working on a script. And I've had an idea. I've got note cards strewn all over the place of all the different ideas that I've put in and story elements and stuff like that. And the problem, and because I want to shift off of like Wonder Woman and what we were just talking about, but I think it does make a point, is that a lot of times these concepts and these ideas that they're putting out have not been fully realized. Well, what we were talking about, because you've been working on this script, Happy Halloween, for 10 years.
Yeah, probably over 10 years.
Over 10 years. Yeah. All right. How many people have read the script?
Maybe 10 people.
How many
out of those 10 people? I mean, some of them are actors, like
that
to get them to do the proof of concept. I was like, hey, here's the script.
How many people did you show it to get feedback from?
Like 3.
And so those people, I just want to go through this process because I'm just curious how this works.
It's very
for you.
hard. Like, it's very hard for me because...
Oh, and I think it's hard for anybody. I mean, I wouldn't want... I've let my wife read a couple of them, and she'll just look at it and go...
Right, okay. Yeah, and I mean, because it kind of cuts you deep. Like, you know, you want...
Well, if you're telling it from, like, really in your heart, then people know who you are. In some cases. And so now you're divulging too much information. You go, ooh, wait, maybe I shouldn't have divulged that because now they think I'm weird. right?
Right. Yeah. Or
So-
when I tell people, like, I hear, like, people talk to me, like, some
Right.
people, like, creative people, I think, get it. And
Oh,
then some
yeah.
people are like, should you be medicated?
Like,
and
I
I'm
mean,
like,
I
don't
could,
know,
but then I wouldn't be able to
maybe.
write, you
Yeah,
idiot. So,
like,
yeah.
maybe. I don't know.
So,
Like, they don't tell me to do bad things. Like, they're just telling me, like what their character should say, essentially.
so you showed it to 3 people. You
I
showed
think
it
so.
3 to 4 people. Those 3 to 4 people, when you showed it to them, was the intent to get feedback
Yes.
so that you could move forward.
Yes. Yeah.
Did you get feedback on
I
it?
did.
Um,
Some of it not fun feedback. You know what I
Right,
mean? Like with
right.
anything, you know, that's something you kind of like, and I have a very soft heart. Like I love slasher movies, but it's like I also love puppies.
Right.
Like I have a very soft heart, and like I'm very, like everything I do, like I'm very connected to. Like I take a lot of things to heart, and I wish I didn't.
Right.
Because it's just one of those things, like when you say, hey, like I want to know your opinion, it's nice if they're like, this is the best thing ever, don't change anything. But that was not the case.
Right.
Because I mean, originally it was I don't know, it was like 2 hours long, like page wise.
So,
Like, yeah, so it would have been like a 2 hour long film, which unless you're doing something like the It movies,
Right.
like where it's from a novel and it's very, very deep and character driven, like
which
those
the
make
books,
sense.
the books were very deep.
Right, yeah, that makes sense. But like for a slasher film, like you should be in like that hour and 20, hour and 30 minute range. So I cut out
Like
close
a whole
to
story
70, yeah,
arc
like a
and-
close to like 70 pages worth, which granted needed at the time. You know, they tell you when you're writing, like you have to kill your darlings. So it's like, if it hurts me so badly to get rid of it, it's probably it's probably the right reason.
I call it shoot the puppy.
Oh gosh, I can't call it that.
I know, and that's why is because it is like the worst thing I would think of is
Oh,
like
yeah.
having to shoot a puppy.
Oh, and
but
I had
that
a
is
character combined, like a character completely removed, and then 2 characters combined into 1 character. So I mean, it's like there was a
So-
whole lot of stuff that like I cut out.
this process, that whole process has gotten you to where you're at now, and how much feedback did you take from those people that you let read it? How much feedback, like percentage wise, how much would you say that you said, yeah, that makes sense to me. It was something that I probably questioned, you know, while I was doing it, and I went ahead and made that. I changed that because it made sense to me.
Right. It's kind of hard to give a percentage because there's some of the stuff that I just didn't agree with.
Did you change anything that you just didn't agree with?
Not that I didn't agree with. I did change some stuff. Like I said, I cut a character completely out, and then I combined 2 characters to kind of make one ultimate character. To make 1 character. So I mean, there's
Dead body number 2.
yeah, there's stuff like that I took into consideration, and stuff when it came to like beats, like scare beats and stuff like that. Like this kind of felt off. Like, you know what I mean? Like maybe if you tried to shorten the scene, like the next scene's more impactful. Like I did more stuff like that, but then there was a few things that I was just like, I don't want to do that. Like, because I don't want to go away from like the core of what I was wanting.
Right.
And I think a lot of it is just taking that feedback and like, so that's the hardest thing about feedback. I think just because someone gives you feedback doesn't mean you have to change everything that person says. It's going through and picking out like what you think is going to help your story, or what you think is like, okay, yeah, that's accurate. Like I do have too many characters. Like this is because with horror, you want to have enough characters to have a body count
Right.
that people care about. So you have to be careful, in my opinion, because you need enough characters that you can quickly have people like enough.
Well, they
to
all
get rid
have a
of-
certain archetype that people
Right.
can easily relate to
Yeah,
very
and that's,
quickly.
you know, people say you shouldn't have stereotypical characters, but with a lot of horror films, there's a reason why you have stereotypical characters, because you have to get people on board quick and fast. but you also have to like acting chops. Like I think a lot of people don't give these horror films enough credit because I don't think they realize how like the actor, like how much like acting chops they really have to do some of this stuff. You know what I mean? And to make you
Right.
that upset, like when a character, you know what I mean? Because there's horror films and a character dies and you're just like devastated.
Right.
And you can see it coming. It's like most horror films, it's like boyfriend and best friend,
Don't
get it.
do it.
You know what I mean?
Don't
It's
do
like,
it. Yeah.
yeah, like you, so I mean, a lot of it you see it coming, but I mean, even if you watched like Halloween, like the 2018, I mean, it's an impactful, there's like, it's about PTSD throughout 3 generations.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's deeper stuff like Happy Halloween. Like there's very personal, deep
Well,
stuff that I have in that.
There is, it's just like with, it's like, you know, superhero movies today opposed to superhero movies in, you know, like the very first Superman movie. They weren't worried about realism.
No, it was.
It was
what-
okay.
how can
The
we tell-
the escapism part of it was okay.
Right, he flies.
We-
He's
yeah.
from another planet. What
But
are
they
you
didn't
talking
have
about?
to explain it or anything like that, which when you get to the newest Superman movie, they do have to kind of figure out all that stuff. And the problem with horror movies today is they have to explain everything. Of, well, why is he a bad guy?
Right, and it's like
Or
you
why-
don't have to like.
You
they
don't
can just-
necessarily have to. He's just a bad guy.
Yeah, he just
likes killing people and
Yeah.
sticking knives in them.
you know,
So that's
and
okay.
it's- I mean, and that's kind of what happened with the original Halloween. Is
Yeah.
that it wasn't supposed to be his sister. You know, he's just a babysitter killer.
Right.
Like he just went around killing people on
Now,
Halloween.
granted, Jason Voorhees in
They gave him a backstory.
They gave him a little bit of a backstory, and it really wasn't Jason Voorhees that was killing anybody in the very
Right.
first one.
No.
And he wasn't introduced until the second one, right?
Right. Yeah. It's his mom.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's like.
You spoiled it.
Sorry, if you guys have not seen the original Friday the 13th, 1, shame on you, and 2, tough cookies.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, or I don't know if you've seen it. It's called The Final Girls. It's like a PG-13. Like these kids get put in. I say kids. They're probably all in their 30s. These characters get put into an 80s slasher film, and they can't get out of it. And they're having to go through this, like knowing they're in this
they're
film.
the last ones.
Right. And like
Okay.
they're and anyways, it's a real indie horror film, if you can call it that. It's more of like an homage to horror films.
Right.
But it has so much heart. Like I cried 3 times. True, I cry at a lot of stuff, but like I cried 3 times because they did such a good one. It's filmed gorgeous, like it's gorgeous.
Right.
And it's real bright and colorful, which you don't expect from slasher movies. They're
Right.
usually darker. But like it's got this, it's like this coming of age story put into an 80s slasher movie. And it's just, they have these beautiful moments in the movie and it has so much heart. And it's just, that's another reason why I think I like scary movies so much, I guess, is some of them just
Kind of sneak up
beautiful,
on you.
yeah, they just do these beautiful things, you know, like the 2003 Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That movie is brutal. Makes me sick to my stomach because some of the stuff just looks too real.
But it was filmed really well.
But yeah, the angles they used and the lighting, it's like they backlight the house and they had that weird shot from like the corner of the stairs at the top looking down at that screen door.
Yeah.
And like it looks like the only light coming in is from that screen door.
Well, and the whole film was, I won't say it was filmed well. It was lit
It
really
was lit
well.
really well.
It was
Yeah.
lit really well.
And it makes you think like, and that's, you know, people think I'm weird, but it's like, to me, when I describe that movie, it's gorgeous. Like that movie is gorgeous. Like, and it's like, I'm not talking about like the murders. That's awful. But like those shots and the coloring and I don't know, like it's like the lighting, like you said, the lighting is just amazing in that movie.
That's the 2000. Let's see, that one's
That's Jessica Biel's in that one.
Yeah, Jessica Biel was in that. And let's see, I wanted to see who the cinematographer was for that. No, heaven's sakes. Cinematographer always gets put down at the bottom.
And I don't know why. It should be put at the top.
Anastas M. Mikos.
Yeah, that's also fun, like behind the scenes like commentary stuff to that movie.
Oh,
Like watching the behind the scenes stuff is really.
He's got a bunch of stuff in post production. Yeah. Okay, before we go, let's do a really quick recap on everything that our listeners need to know about Happy Halloween. We've talked about, so where are you going to, you're going to do the proof of concept and you've got an Indiegogo that's coming up, or is it already out yet?
It's not out yet.
Okay,
yeah, we're
so
about
it's
to
coming
launch.
out.
Yeah, we're about to launch it. In the next week or so, we're going to launch it.
Okay, so that'll be out there and available. And once it's out there, we can share some of that stuff on the podcast. And then, as far as what do you need people to do
to get Happy Halloween made?
Yes.
I mean, to be honest, like if you can't fund it, like sharing and liking the page, which I hate it. That we're in that world, that it matters how many likes and shares you have. But
this is the life we have chosen,
right? Yeah, but this is unfortunately the world we live in.
Right.
I don't like living my life by likes, but to get the project made, we need as many people looking at the stuff as possible. So even if you can't give to Indiegogo, even if you just share the link and you're like, hey, let's just keep sharing this to see if we can get more and more people like on board. And then hopefully we can film it in October. Like that's kind of the plan.
So you want to film it in October?
Yes. Well, because if you think about it, because especially if we're doing an indie and low budget, if we could film it in October when people already have Halloween stuff out and are already thinking about it, maybe
and you can
people
get all
will
the stuff that's at the store,
right?
too.
Yeah, like maybe people will be in the spirit of letting us like film on their porch or form. You know, there's a guy in Nixa who like he was in the paper and on the news this year because like they go like I wish I had a house that looked like this, like hundreds and hundreds of pumpkins. You know, and he was super nice. He let us film out there, but it's like that's how I want all the houses looking. Like because I love Halloween. It's my favorite everything.
So get out,
share,
get the word out.
Yeah, like share.
Are you guys getting out and talking to like any individuals specifically?
So we've talked to production companies.
Okay.
We've talked to people, producers and stuff like that. And kind of, I mean, just we're in a very weird time right now. COVID has put a damper on a lot of things.
Sure.
Especially with like filmmaking and stuff like that and just kind of how the theater system's going. We've had a lot of positive feedback over the proof of concept. So if we can get the funding, like I think really good things would happen if we could get the funding to actually get it made. But again, like you said, like if come October, I know this is a long ways away, but like come October, if you're like...
It's actually not a long way away for a feature film, right?
Yeah, it's going to get here before you know it. Like we should just be filming right now. But it's like if you know people that have a corn maze that are like... hey, like I know somebody that runs this corn maze or works at this corn maze. Like even stuff like that helps, like to where you could get a location for cheap or, you know what I mean? Or lower than you would have.
Well, if this podcast comes out prior to you all, we'll try to coordinate it so it does. My podcast comes out on Wednesday. So you might not be, I don't know if you'll be ready by then, but we'll try to get it coordinated so that if people who are listening to this, if you want to give $1, if you want to give $10, if you want to give 20, if you want to give 20,000, then
if you happen to have 20,000,
if you happen to have it,
and you're just like, man, I just have this laying around.
Here's my 2 cents. If you are someone that has that kind of money, all right, there is a lot of things that you can do with it. There's a ton of things you can do with it. But how awesome would it be to be able to make a movie? And we have Brittney here who is tempered in many projects that she has worked in, and she's had to learn this process. So if you're wanting to invest in someone, invest in this. This story has been vetted. It's been worked on for 10 years. I'm sure if you're willing to give $10,000, she's going to let you read the script.
Oh yeah, I'll let you be in it if you give me $10,000.
You can even be in it. So
you get an executive producer
that's
credit.
right.
You can be a dead body. You could have a speaking role. Like
That's
I
right.
really don't care if you give me $10,000.
Brittany's cheap when it comes to
yeah,
that.
we'll
do whatever
work
we need
something.
to.
Yeah, we'll work something out. And you'll make like this sounds super cheesy and corny, but it's like it would be a dream come true. Like
Well, that's awesome.
like slashers and like slasher movies and like Halloween. They're two things that mean a lot to me and have shaped me as like an individual. So I mean, I don't know. It would be like a dream realized.
And who better to have do that than someone that has an affinity for it?
Right? I mean, I think so. And you know, they talk about all the time that there's not enough women, which is silly. Not enough women in horror. And it's like you have like the Twisted Twins. You have like all these people that are actually in horror. They just don't get the time of day is what it feels like.
I want to see a horror movie. I want to see a horror movie where the guy and the girl start out the film and the girl gets killed. And
right,
then it's
and
the
you
dude.
Have a guy, like,
then the dude is running away from the bad guy the whole
right,
time
and
because it
he's
never
like-
happens.
yeah.
It's always the girl.
and he can be the final guy instead of the final girl.
right. Be the final
Heck
guy.
yeah.
Be the first one.
That can be the sequel.
Yeah.
We'll write it.
Well, Brittany, it's been great having you.
Thank you. I had so much fun.
I did too. And we're almost at 2 hours.
Boom.
It's crazy. We'll get you back in
Sweet. Yeah.
after the. Because I'm pretty positive that this is all going to work out well. So once that all works out and you get funded and you guys get into production and we get things moving, let's come back in and we'll chat about it some more.
Oh yeah, that'd be fun. Or like if we can get like cast in and too, like
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah,
that would be really fun.
We
have a lot of really talented people on
I've
board.
got 2 microphones on order, so we'll have like
Oh my
enough for like
gosh.
5 or 6 people.
Right?
Yeah, so it'll be fun.
So we'll just have like a heyday.
I know.
I just like how I'm just like already inviting like
just come
my
on back
cast and
in.
crew.
Come
I'm
on
like,
back
yeah. Like I was like camped outside your door with like a tent. You're like, Brittany, it's gonna get cold. And I'm like, it's fine. Just we're ready when you are.
Well, I want to thank you for coming in. I really appreciate it. And next week is my good friend John Pope is going to be on the show. And he is a little different in the sense that you probably don't know who he is if you are in the film and the creative realm of things. And he's done something really interesting, and I can't wait for you all to hear that podcast. I've already had him in because he is a busy, busy man, and he's going to be on next Wednesday. And then also the week after that, Jamie Talamantes, who has been probably referenced on this podcast the most of all people, because I think she's just absolutely awesome. She's going to be in. And after that, I don't know. I'm still working on it, getting my...
Lots of people.
We've got tons of people coming on. Tons of people. So please like and subscribe, because that's what I'm supposed to say. It doesn't...
Smash that like button.
Smash that like button.
Is that what you're supposed to say? Smash it.
Here's the thing, folks. I don't make any money off of this podcast, so I really don't care. I hate to say it, because I know that that's why people like want you to
Right.
subscribe.
Because they get the money.
They get the money, and sponsors will look at it, and I'm not even close to that yet, so I'm not even worrying about it. But if you do like and follow, that is the easiest way for you to tell me that I'm doing a good job. If you like the content that's on here, I don't have a boss here. It's just kind of me. So it really does mean a lot. The comments, the attaboys and all that stuff have been great. So thank you so much for all of those that you've sent, and you know who you are. Brittany, thank you so much.
Thank you.
For being on, and I am going to sign off. Bye.
You have been listening to the Bravo Creative Podcast. Analysis of your biometrics have been compiled and calculated. You are now a minuscule part of the collective. Enjoy the rest of your pitiful day.